All right, good morning. Thank you all for attending. Thank you to all the people who are standing behind me on this issue of importance to everyone. Let me be clear that we are standing here today because of the actions of some in the village of Bellport. The town of Brookhaven in 2018 was asked by the village of Bellport to allow the annexation of unincorporated lands into the village. The town board unanimously agreed to allow that to happen under state law, and that's a copy of the resolution there. That was in 2018. I was elected supervisor in January and spoke about this issue of inequality in the Bellport community, an issue that's very dear to me, at my inaugural address. I met with the mayor of Bellport and the village clerk. We spoke for over 2 hours. Subsequent meetings occurred between our Parks Commissioner, Ed Morris, and the mayor, and the conversations went nowhere. The town board and the town of Brookhaven, it should be clear, is not looking to invade the village of Bellport, not looking to overrun the village. All we simply asked for was a handful of dates for a program for the people of North Bellport, a place we've put a lot of emphasis, and a people that we're looking to help to go over to enjoy the beauty of Long Island. The most direct route down Station Road is to the Bellport Village dock. That is all that we asked for, a handful of dates. And that was not achieved, even though we believe we have the right to go over. Every excuse was made. When I met with the mayor, I was told the ferry is paid for by village taxpayers. That's a fact. I offered to defray the cost of that ferry, because there only is one means of municipal access from the mainland to Ho-Hum, and that is the village ferry. The mayor agreed with me and brought it to her board. What unfolded after that, you'd have to ask the mayor. I offered to defray the costs. I offered the option of a non-resident fee for people to come and enjoy the beauty of the water, for the children of North Bellport to enjoy the simple pleasures of building a sandcastle on the beach, a community that is challenged, where at times there are not 2 vehicles per household. Imagine, as I grew up in Mastic Beach, not being able to enjoy the water on the island. So I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I chartered a water taxi to go over for a handful of dates, the next date being today, which we'll push off at 11 o'clock, to simply bring, at maximum, 25 people over to enjoy the beach. That is all that we did. During the last week, the devastation on the North Shore, because of the rain, caused us to dedicate a lot of our time to repair efforts in helping homeowners. We set up this program, an online portal, for people to go and sign up and enjoy a beautiful place on the island. And what happened? What happened is what really brought us here today. Because at the last moment, where the town of Brookhaven made good on its word to run their own water taxi and bring a handful of people, and we didn't target to the east because those people would go to Smith Point. We didn't target to the west because those people would go to Patchogue. We tried to help the people of North Bellport who otherwise might not be able to get to the beach. A handful of people. So any specious arguments and absurd arguments made about overrunning the flora and the fauna or the septic system, That's just nonsense. So at the last-ditch effort, what happened? Not from the Bellport Village residents, who have been told only half the story or less. A Bellport Village trustee went online and filled out online registrations to take up most all of the available seats. This was discovered by our General Services Commissioner, Lisa Keys, late Friday, and the attendance, unlike today where 18 people are signed up, was small. This went on day after day after day, a concerted effort to stop people from going over to Ho-Hum Beach. Ladies and gentlemen, these are facts. We have the right to go over. We only simply sought to bring two handfuls of people over for a limited program. And at that very moment, a village trustee took it upon themselves to go and undermine the program. Why? You'd have to ask that person why. But the people behind me, because of this pattern, feel it was done for a specific reason. And with every excuse taken away, what would a reasonable person say? So the town, myself, and the village may choose to throw barbs at me as Brookhaven Town Supervisor. That's fine. That's part of the job. Get in line. When you're the supervisor of Brookhaven, that's a daily occurrence. You don't owe me an explanation. You owe the people behind me an explanation. The children of the people behind me who were not able to simply go to the beach. I said I would not let this go. I'm not letting this go because the town is acting reasonably. And to defend the rights of the people behind me, the North Bellport community, I reached out and we have procured the legal services, the former U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District, former supervisor of the town of Brookhaven. I'll invite up to the podium Mark Lesko.
Thank you, Supervisor Panico. I think I still have a barb in me or two from years ago. The town is going to pursue all of its legal options to ensure the town residents have access to Ho-Hum Beach. We're going to look at legal issues related to the lease of the Bay Bottom, and specifically, we're going to look at legal issues related to the annexation that the supervisor described in 2018. I note that in 2018, as the supervisor highlighted, the town board's authorization expressly conditioned that authorization on, you can see it right there, the continued use and benefit of the beach for the residents of the town of Brookhaven, not just the residents of the village of Bellport. Clearly, that condition has been violated, and the town will take whatever steps are necessary to protect the rights of its residents, including potentially filing a lawsuit. Lastly, we're going to refer this matter to Attorney General Tish James for her review. We believe that the village's actions here violate substantial rights of the town's residents, and that the Attorney General should examine what's happened here to determine whether there have been any constitutional violations. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you, Mark. Now I'd like to invite to the podium Tracy Todd Hunter from the NAACP.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tracy Todd Hunter. I'm here on behalf of the president of the NAACP, Dr. Georgette Greer-Key. She was unable to make it due to a prior engagement, and she sends her apologies and best wishes. It's wrong for Bellport Village to use a municipal-owned beach as a private beach and deny access to all local residents to the waterways to the beach. Bellport Village is actively practicing a segregation by excluding access and public accommodation to Brookhaven Town, deeded to Ho-Hum Beach, by not allowing the local and surrounding community that are African American and BIPOC people to use the beach. We have witnessed a premeditated exclusion to persons like myself who pay taxes for 20-plus years. We shouldn't have to go several towns over or to the North Shore when there is a beach a little over a mile away for leisure and respite. As the president of the Brookhaven Town NAACP branch and as a direct resident, we stand behind the town of Brookhaven on this fight to end this designed landlock to people who look like me. We plan on doing everything in our power to put an end to this exclusion and hold everyone accountable. As always, we hope to participate in forthcoming talks on how we can achieve equity, equality, and justice. And on another note, I represent a group called Of Colors Creative Collective in Patchogue. I'm 62 years old today. I grew up partly in Bellport and partly in most of my life in Patchogue. My family has roots here that they were slaves at one point on Long Island. We have roots with the Poospatuck and the Shinnecock Indian. So for the village of Bellport to decide that they feel that people like us that have contributed and our ancestors have contributed to Long Island, I think it's a travesty. Thank you.
And I want to point out again, it's a pattern. It is a pattern, and I'm sure when that village trustee went on under his own name and his own email, but even with crass names, if you see the first one here, from the same email, it's Mike Hunt. That's the name that he used. And I'm sure, people were laughing at that moment. I assure you, they're not laughing now. Because the town of Brookhaven is serious that we are going to defend the rights of the people of the town. I want to tell you a quick story, and this involves the council member from the 1st District. At our Juneteenth celebration, I sat with a man by the name of Jason Neal. And Mr. Neal is the coach of the Bellport Chess Club. And we sat under the tent playing chess. And I talked to him about this program, as I did many people at our Juneteenth celebration at the Longwood Estate. And what he told me was that he grew up in the area, but that even if I offered a program, many people may not feel comfortable even going, because he, a United States Army veteran and lifelong resident, feels unwanted. We should all work, and let me say this, and I want to reiterate it. The overwhelming vast majority of people in Bellport Village, we're not talking about them. Those are good people. It's the actions of some in that administration and village government that have caused this today. And this, the gesture that we made to bring people over to North Bellport at the 11th hour to go on and take up all of the available seats, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. That is why we are here today. It's reprehensible conduct, because what are you afraid of? Look at the people right here on this photo. They're human beings just like you and I. And when brought over twice a year from the Boys and Girls Club, we could have printed pages. We don't have enough easels in Brookhaven Town to fill up the smiles and joy of the children, some of them who only get to go to the beach twice a year. If you don't think there's something wrong with that, well, then I would suggest there's something wrong with you. I appreciate everyone coming today, and would open it up for questions to the press.
Could we possibly hear from a few of the residents holding up the signs, their experiences, trying to get on the ferry?
Dr. Graham, would you?
Could you say and spell your first and last name, please?
Sure. Corrine, C-O-R-R-I-N-N-E, last name G-R-A-H-A-M. So I'm just going to speak just in general, and I was just talking, if I could invite, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. This is one of the residents. Please come up. We're just coming in. And we're just talking about the actual incident of what happened. Could you just go ahead and share your experience with them for me, please?
So I am a resident of Bellport. I've been a resident of Bellport all my life, and I love to go to the marina there. And my name is Dorothy Jackson. And I like to go to the marina, and, you know, my mom just passed, and I went to the marina, and I was stopped. And they said, you can't go. And I usually go there to sit and just sit by the water and just to think or just to clear my mind. But this time I really needed to clear my mind. And I was told I couldn't go past. I had to park in the back part and walk when I usually was able to just sit there and just meditate, pray, or just think. But they told me no at that point, and I just went home and I sat in my driveway and I just cried. And again, there was times when I knew there was the ferry, and I was like, oh my God, it's a ferry. I never knew this was here. And when I asked the gentleman, he said, no, if you're not a resident, you're not allowed to get on this ferry. And I was like, really? So I was really appalled at that. Like, I was very appalled at that statement that if you weren't a resident, even they have guidelines where if you don't live a certain miles from the village, you're not able to be able to use those facilities. So I'm really happy about this, and this is why I'm here today. Thank you.
Thank you. And on the issue of parking, because that issue has been brought up by the village, it's part of the reason why we're running a shuttle from the local school district that supports this program down to the ferry. We're not creating any traffic hazard. We're not creating parking problems. And let me mention the school district. This is a school district where essentially if you live south of the tracks, you can go to the beach. If you live north of the tracks, you can't go to the beach as of right because you do not reside within the village. We can work together to change this. I'm open to a meaningful conversation with village officials. I'm open to help defray the cost. I will take away every excuse. But when you see things like this, they say actions speak louder than words. And this is reprehensible action. Are there any other questions?
Why was there a need to annex the land in 2018 when I believe the village purchased it in the 1960s?
In order for them to enforce their laws, it needed to be annexed out of the unincorporated territory into the incorporated territory. Under the state law, the town did not have to agree to that. Back at the time, I spoke to our town attorney, Annette Arresto, and made sure that was an explicit piece of the approval. And I will note that our town attorney, Annette Arresto, was the longtime Bellport Village attorney and is fully familiar with these issues.
So it was owned by the village, but it wasn't part of the incorporated
Correct.
land?
Correct.
One more question. Is it true that the docks in Bellport, the Bellport Marina, is leased by the village from the town because the town owns the bay bottoms?
That is correct. The town owns the bay bottom. The town also provides lifeguards at Ho-Hum Beach. The village pays for those lifeguards, but we've always worked well with the village. And when the mayor came to me with the issue of the laminating solar panels that are over 20 years old, I immediately got on the phone with Chris Hahn from PSE&G to try to help out to ensure that the artesian well and the bathrooms operated. You know, we've taken away every excuse. And again, they don't have to answer me. They have to answer you and answer the people behind me. Because when it's not money, when it's not the environment, the septic isn't being overrun, it's not a parking issue, what is it? You know, really, what is it? Because it's only a limited program. And, you know, I just heard today about a paddle board event. I mean, every day, it's just one thing after the other, and it's skirting what I think is the real issue and what the people behind me believe is the real issue, which is unfortunate. I would just categorize that as unfortunate. And I can provide the entire roster by PDF to any of you, so you can take a look at the fictitious names and other names that were used to take up all of the available seats.
I know the mayor's saying that the bathroom is small and the septic isn't adequate. What do you say to that? And that's my next question.
I find it hard to believe that 20 people going to the beach were going to overrun the septic. We have a bathroom at Great Gun, a male and female bathroom at Great Gun. We have issues too, like anyone else, with the well and the solar panels. That bathroom, and our Parks Commissioner is here, has never been overrun. I just find that hard to believe.
If you can't get this issue resolved, do you plan to run the ferry next year?
I know that I'm running the ferry for the duration, or water taxi, I should say, for the duration of this year. I hope that after this, people will look at the issue logically from the village and try to come to a compromise. Otherwise, everything that was said by our council, Mr. Lesko, is going to come to fruition because the town has an obligation to its residents. And we're only simply asking for a limited amount of people, a limited amount of times. And there's no argument against it. There's no realistic or plausible argument against it. So we hope to run next year as well. And we hope to do that in concert with the village and for the betterment of all of the people of Bellport. Any other questions? Sir?
You keep mentioning.
Sir, are you from the press?
No.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much for attending.
Press over here.
Just
Greg.
you mentioned a couple of times the overriding issue, but you haven't said what it is. I mean, what do you believe is motivating their actions? I mean, can you specifically?
I know what the people behind me, which was in the press advisory, believe is the issue. I will leave the village of Bellport to speak for themselves. If they want to talk about the flora and the fauna of 20 people are going to trample, I've heard that. I've heard about the septic system. I've heard about the regatta. I've heard about the paddle boarders, the sailors. And I tell you, Councilman Foley was with me this morning with News 12. He represents all of Fire Island. Our Parks Commissioner, Ed Morris, specifically came today because he heard the absurd notion that people were going to be run over on paddle boards by a water taxi company that's Coast Guard approved. I let the village answer that question for you themselves.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.